approached the individual who by that time was now seated in his vehicle, at which time, upon recognizing the presence of Lieutenant Bailey, the individual immediately fled the university parking lot, jumping the curb, and nearly hitting a nearby brick column in the parking lot.
It's not clear if the HBC was a target for the shooter, who was a white supremacist, but our historical black colleges
I'll be damned.
on guard.
I got images.
Is Chief of Police at Morgan State University and HBCU in Baltimore. He joins us now. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ashley. Good.
How often did you think about schools like
The box camera. This was, you might say, the version of the early 20th century point and shoot camera, film camera. One of the key things though is I had to know that it would take 120 film, because today a lot of box cameras, there are a lot of cameras that take film that they don't make no more. What is great about these cameras? Nothing. These are very simple cameras. They are basically a very simple dark box on the inside that allows you to capture, with the help of the sun, a photograph. And that's what makes these, well, back in the day, that's what made these a very common camera manufactured for the working class folks that could readily afford these and take family pictures. It's a Ansco B2 Cadet camera. And they made this a bare bone, simplistic camera. Highlights on this particular camera is it does have two viewfinders. We have one viewfinder here. This allows you to set up as you look down into here, and it comes out through here, and you could create your portrait. If you are to flip it over, you have the same thing on this side that you could look through to grab your landscape. Is the shutter, and all you do is, and we'll see if we can hear it. Ooh. It appears that it is still functional. This right here is the film advance knob that you turn your film. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is back in the days, this didn't have an automatic stop, but what you had to do is, and you probably can't see it, but there's a little red window right here, and this little red window allows you to look in there. And I find that for me, whenever I shoot anything that's old like this, I have to be in the sunlight just to see the number through the red. But anyway, you advance it, and this camera should advance, and when you do that, it advances to 1, 2, and so forth. It is a medium format. I want to point that out. It takes 120 film, so it is a medium format. And unlike most cameras, medium format camera, which shoots a 6 centimeter by 6 centimeter square on the negative, this camera shoots serious landscape at a 6 centimeter, which is fundamentally the width of the film, but it goes out even further to 9 centimeter. I have never photographed with a 9 centimeter. Now, if you're going to start shooting with a medium format camera, you have to keep in mind that with one roll of film, if I shoot, as an example, a 6 centimeter by 4.5 centimeter, I can get 15 pictures. If I shoot the standard 6 centimeter by 6 centimeter, or 1-to-1 ratio, aspect ratio, I get 12 pictures. The 6 by 9 centimeter, I get 8 pictures. So it's very important when you photograph, or back in the days when you photograph, the composure shots, because you only have 8 photographs. All right, now that we talked briefly about the 120 film, we're going to load it up. And I can't even tell you the last time this camera was loaded up to photograph. First thing you generally need to do is this film advance. This is the film advance knob right here. You pop it open, you pull it out. Then you go ahead and pop the back. It has a nice latch. And then you pull out the inside. Look at that. Now, I will share with you what I did do is, I forgot which side, but if you look, it's primarily, we can say it's like a cone, but it's made out of thick or cardboard. And it was dropping down within this region here. This is the region that rests up against the lens. So I did very gingerly glue that back up in there to get it out of the way. I wasn't certain if it was going to interfere with the photos, but I wanted to make certain that it was above this rectangle here to allow the light to come through without interference. You'll see that we have an empty rule in here, and this was the roll of film that went up here. And when they filled this up, this is what they took out, and this is what they sent to the photo film store or whatever to have their roll of film. So the first thing you need to do is pop the empty roll out. And pop it on the top. And that's all it is. You can look, you can possibly see there is a hole right there. This is where the film advance knob will go into there in order for it to rotate the film or advance the film. Now we're going to take our roll of film, our brand spanking new roll of film. It's a Kodak T-Max 100. And I have to point out that it did expire in July of 2021. So I'm actually loading up a roll of expired film. So let's see how that does. There it is. Got the retaining strap off, you might say. I like to go even a step further and pull it all off if I can. And there is the start of our film. You pop it into the spool rails here. Now the thing I don't know about is most of the newer models of 120 film cameras, they have a mark that you can go to. There is a mark. And so if you're watching what I'm doing, you can see that I'm taking the leader, the piece of paper that's wrapping the negative, that's protecting it as well, around. So that way I come up onto the take-up spool that I just put into there. And I'm going to turn this spool here, kind of center it up so it goes onto the reel, goes onto the rollers that are there, and at least get it started up. And there we go. Now, you can see right here on the paper there is an arrow indicating. This is usually the mark where you would load it up into the camera. So I'm just going to bring it up far enough to come up to the first rollie right here. Because really, the neat thing about it is I have no idea where to put the start of this. Pop it back in there. Close the lid. Push this in. And now, and I'm having a devil of a time seeing in here because I'm not outdoors. So if you pardon me, I'm going to pull out my smartphone and use the flashlight. And I want to start advancing it, and I'm going to start looking into the red window there until it comes to number 1, if it all works. And hopefully it does. So give me a moment. Okay, I see the first arrow. I see another arrow. Kodak, it's coming. Oh, there we are. We're on number 1. Now that the film is loaded in here, in the camera, and it's ready, what you have to remember is once you press down on this shutter button, it's going to return up to its original position, but that's it. Push down, back up. You have to advance the roll of film. This camera will not do this. This camera is not an automatic camera. It is an awesome old school camera. You have to advance the film. I know it's cool, ain't it? You have to do that. And you have to watch through this red window the numbers as they advance. Now I got it loaded to number 1. Now the next roll is going to be number 2. Once you hit number 2 or see number 2 in there, you're ready to shoot another exposure. There's only 8 exposures. So I'm looking forward to taking this camera out. I'm looking forward to photographing with this camera. I'm looking forward to developing the film and see how well it comes out. And once I'm done with all of that, I will share that with you and some thoughts. So let's go have some fun. I have to say, this little camera surprised me. And I hope that you appreciated the photographs that I had taken. It was very quick. I went around Prescott Valley today to my favorite spots to photograph. I just wanted to rapidly fire off and shoot the 8 exposures on this film because I want to highlight a couple of things to consider. One, with a 6 by 9 centimeter format on the 120 film, you only have 8 exposures, and I shot all 8. And the pleasant surprise was there was actually photographs on all 8. Mistakes made? Yes. If there was any problem at all, it was primarily due to my shaking. However, I would like to also remind everybody, when you buy, say, such a camera as this, a box camera, we're talking age. Now, I don't necessarily know when this camera was manufactured, but we'll say that this camera is at least 70 years old. The spring's old. Now, when I say spring, I'm talking about the shutter spring. It's old. So even if the design intent of this camera was for 1/50th of a second, it may be now slower to 1/40th of a second. So because of that, it's very important when photographing with this box camera or any old box camera, hold the camera as steady as possible. Notes: when you photograph, have the sun behind you. Now, I went out early in the morning and I tried to make certain that the sun was behind me, so that way the subject that you're shooting or photographing is bright. This includes portrait shots, so you make sure your subject, if you're photographing a person, is facing the sun while the sun is to your back in order to help illuminate that subject when you photograph with these old box cameras. And off the top of my head, that pretty much wraps it up. I'm just, like I said, I was tickled pink when I developed the roll of film and I seen the images on the negatives. So I want to close by saying thank you for those who have subscribed. Please consider subscribing, and until next time, we'll catch you later.